Hello everybody, welcome back to another video with Lim Reviews. Now this is going to be the last video of 2021. I hope all of you guys out there had a great year and definitely wishing all of you a happy new year. Alright, so before we begin this video, today's video is a little bit special. I'm going to be sharing with you a very interesting laptop that I have been using for the past 2 to 3 weeks now. This is an absolutely crazy machine. So what I mean by that is that it has a ton of crazy specifications on this laptop, which you can see right here. And I use this mainly for my creative workflow. So that means that most of the videos that you've been seeing for the past few days, those videos are actually edited on this particular machine right here. Alright, so in today's video, we're just going to be sharing with you all about my experience with this ASUS ProArt Studiobook 16 OLED that has just launched not too long ago here in Malaysia. My model here is the H5600, and that means it comes with the AMD Ryzen processor. Alright, so let's begin with today's video right away. Now, this laptop right here, the Studiobook 16, I'm just going to call it that way, is actually a very interesting machine because it just provides me a lot of productivity in terms of my workflow. Now, let me talk a little bit about it, but before I do that, let's talk a little bit about the design. In terms of the design, if you just take a look at this Studiobook 16, you will notice that it is in this fully blacked out design, which looks absolutely stealthy. I really love the design here. Everything is in matte black and it just looks amazing. It looks like a gaming device, but it is actually made for the creators. So something that you should also know is that the ProArt logo that you see on the back here, this basically means that all the color calibration on this device here is going to be top notch. Everything that I see on this device here is going to be the actual color. So that's what I love about this thing as well. Now moving the laptop to the other sides here, notice that we do have a couple of ports on the left. On the left, we actually have two USB-Cs 3.2 Gen 2. We also have a USB-A 3.2 Gen 2, a HDMI 2.1, and the Kensington lock. Moving on to the right here, we also have a USB-A 3.2 Gen 2, an SD Express 7.0, and that actually means faster transfer speeds, although typical SD cards today don't actually support that right now, but yeah, it's actually quite fast in terms of the SD card transfer speeds. Now, apart from that, you also have your headphone jack and the Ethernet port. So that's basically all the kind of ports that you will get on this Studiobook 16. Now, moving on, let's talk a little bit about the bottom of the device because we're covering the exterior right now. At the back here, you can see that we have these really cool vents with the Studiobook logo at the back here. It actually looks very nice from the bottom up of this Studiobook 16. Alright, so now done with the exterior, we should also talk a little bit about what we see on the inside. Now, as soon as I lift the laptop itself, which I can do with just one finger, I notice that on the top here, we do have a 720p webcam that actually has a cover on it, which you can open and close just to have that kind of privacy for your laptop here. So I think that's really cool of ASUS to put that in this laptop right here. And moving down, we notice that we have a very spacious keyboard over here. I do need to point out that the layout of the keyboard is slightly towards the left. It's slightly shifted towards the left, so it takes quite a while for me to get used to this kind of typing on the keyboard. But that's just something that you should take note of. Now, the main star of the show right here is actually this ASUS Dial, which you can actually have a couple of features. It supports like adjusting the system brightness. It supports like adjusting the volume, and of course, it supports a couple of Adobe Creative apps. That means that you have a multi-functions just by rotating this dial, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. Now, moving down, we also have a fairly spacious trackpad over here, which comes with 3 buttons. The good thing about this trackpad here is that you can actually use a stylus to write on it to draw stuff, and the 3-button layout here is actually quite similar to how a mouse works. You have 3 buttons, the middle scroll as well as the left and right. So yeah, it's actually pretty comprehensive. Everything you need here on this particular layout. Though I do have to mention one thing is that the keyboard layout is just a little bit too high, so sometimes it's not the most comfortable, but overall, I'm still very happy with the overall design of the Studiobook 16. Alright, so 2 more things that I should also point out about this Studiobook 16 is number 1, it comes with this military standard 810H grade. So that means that this is a very durable kind of laptop right here. I think it has went through a couple of drop tests, but I do not suggest you to drop your laptops at any point of time. And the second thing right here is that in terms of portability, now the reason why I always go with laptops is because I can bring my entire workflow out to the cafe or something like that. And this thing weighs just 2.7 kg, so you have a ton of power all in this laptop right here, and I think that's excellent. Alright, so now done with the design. Quite a fair bit to talk about there. Let me talk about what's really cool about this Studiobook 16, and the first thing I want to highlight here is actually in the display. Now, this Studiobook here has one of the best displays that I've ever seen on a laptop. And what I mean by that is that this laptop here actually carries what ASUS is calling the world's first 16-inch 4K OLED panel. Now, when you hear OLED, you definitely know that it's going to have great contrast levels. The saturations are going to be awesome. You guys know I cover quite a fair bit of smartphones on this channel here, and the display on this Studiobook 16 is just out of this world. It's one of the best that I've seen on any laptop to date. Alright, so just in terms of the display itself, obviously, like I mentioned, this is a ProArt device here, so everything is going to be color accurate. In fact, it has a ton of certifications on this display right here. Let me just quickly go through all the certifications with you very quickly. It has a 16:10 aspect ratio. It has a 100% DCI-P3 color gamut, 550 nits of brightness, a 1:1 contrast ratio. You also have your Pantone validation, you have your Colorman verified, VESA certified, and of course you have your TUV Rainland certified eye care. So that's all the certifications that you can expect from this display. And in other words, to put simply, it's just an awesome display here that is great for doing your editings on your Lightroom or your Premiere Pro, just watching videos. Everything looks great on this display, and I think that's one of the main selling points right here. 4K 16-inch OLED panel, guys. Crazy stuff here. Now, that's just in terms of the display. Let me talk to you a little bit about my creative flow, because like I said, I do edit quite a fair bit of videos on this machine right here. So this is where the ASUS Dial actually comes into play. Now, the good thing about this dial here is you can do a lot of customizations to the functions that you can get on the dial itself. So for example, when I am in the Premiere Pro app, all I need to do is just tap the button right here, and I can do my time axis adjustment, I can do the timeline zoom, and I can also do the audio tracks height. So there's a couple of functions that you can do for Premiere Pro. There are a few more functions that you can do for your Lightroom and your Photoshop. So those are actually very useful if you use this dial right here. Now, of course, some of you might think that this is a gimmick, but I think if you are a creative person and you can just integrate this wheel into your workflow, the ASUS Dial here might actually help you out to do a lot of things very much more quickly. So I think that's also good to have on the Studiobook 16. Now, moving on to the next point right here, let's talk a little bit about the kind of power that we're having in this laptop, because we do have quite a fair bit of power here. So in terms of power, we do have the AMD Ryzen 9 5900HX processor. I also have a RTX 3070 graphics, 1 TB of SSD, 64 GB of DDR4 RAM, and in terms of the battery life, it is 90 watt-hours. So yes, that's quite a fair bit of specifications here. This is definitely a very powerful machine. 64 gigs of RAM, guys. You can do tons of stuff on this Studiobook 16 right here. Now, two more things that you should know here is that this ASUS Studiobook 16 here also supports the ProArt Creator Hub, and inside here it offers you a ton of customizations. You can calibrate your display, you can choose your fan profiles. For instance, you want a performance mode or you just want standard mode. You can also edit the functions of the ASUS Dial here and much more functions, all using the pre-installed ProArt Creator Hub. Now, the last thing that I want to mention here actually is in terms of the fan sounds, because I know that some of you guys out there, you don't like fans that are too noisy. So the good news here is that ASUS has tried to reduce the fan volumes of the Studiobook 16 here significantly, and I am happy to report that under normal use, the sound is not that loud. You don't have fans that spins too loud and too noisily. But if you do go to performance mode, like for instance, if you just need the maximum power, you will still be able to hear quite a fair bit of the fan sounds coming out from the Studiobook 16. Alright guys, bottom line is this ASUS ProArt Studiobook 16 OLED is actually one of my most favorite laptops to date, obviously because it comes with a ton of specs, but I think my favorite feature here would be that awesome 16-inch OLED panel that just allows me to do a lot of things here, and I can know that all the videos that I do, all the photos that I do are actually color accurate. Alright guys, I think that's it for today's video. If you want to know more about the ASUS ProArt Studiobook 16, don't forget to check the links down in the description below. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know down in the comment section below. Of course, I do wish all of you guys a happy new year, happy 2022, and I hope to see all of you guys in my next video. Stay safe everybody. Bye!